Everybody's coming in, they're making a copy. I just want to go over a couple things. First, in Article 48, here in the history of it, originally, we didn't have TZ. And so the thought was going into those 5 schools, it was originally intended to be for classroom teachers only to work the extended day, and the other support staff, they were never intended to work that extended day. However, having worked at a school like that, we did have everyone work the extended day. And my example, school psychologist, I need them there the extended day. We have MTSS, we're talking about students, they go in there. We have no intention of trying to change that in those schools. We want it to be for everyone instructional, even though it was never intended to be that way. But we have done that for years. So we're rewriting that language. We just rewrote it. Lori's up there changing it so we can give that back to you to say the contractual day for instructional staff, which would include everyone there, is 9 hours. And then they will continue to be paid their base hourly rate exclusive of ref for the additional time which must be used for additional structured planning. That is what the schools do. It is structured planning with the coaches and whatnot. And then we're going to exclude the term classroom teachers, blah, 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 and represent that to you. We do want to pay everyone at those schools instructionally. Okay. So we'll reprint that and represent that to you as soon as Lori brings it back in. Now shifting back to 21. So here are my concerns, putting on my principal hat and thinking, how can this get us into a problem where, Lee, you're calling and we're saying our language has gotten us into trouble? Because that's not what we want. We want to be able to notify a teacher, give them time to pack up their classroom, giving them boxes is a fair request, and helping move your classroom is a fair request. I just want to make sure our language says that. And my concern when we say teachers will be notified a minimum of 2 working days in advance makes sense if it happens during the school year. But if it happens during the summer, so I lose an unexpected teacher, husband got transferred, whatever, moves, and I have to move grade levels. 11th grade to 9th grade, let's say. And I need to move the classroom because it's a science classroom. And, certain classrooms are set up that way. If it happens during the summer, the way the language says this is the teacher gets to come back during the school year. And I have to wait until and give you 2 days notice. So you're going to work preschool and then you're going to work 2 days into the school year, the way the language says it, before you move, which is totally disruptive. I think we all agree, and not the intention of what you're trying to say. So I'm thinking that what you're trying to say is if this happens during the school year and you have to move for some unexpected reason during the year, it is a fair request to give you time to make that move, and it shouldn't happen overnight. I assume that's what this request is. But the way it's written, I can see us getting into trouble if the room movement happens over the summer. And so that's my hesitation. All this is about notification. I have to notify you 2 days, but let's be fair. You don't have to come in over the summer and move your classroom. I get that if it was water or mold, you're going to say, yeah, I want to save my stuff. But if I'm traveling for a month in the summer, right up till the time to come back, it is not a fair request to ask you to do that, but it would be expected to happen during preschool, not when kids are back. So I don't know if you want to go back and repropose something, or if we want to say, if a classroom is to be moved during the school year, then a teacher will receive the 2 days notice. Lee, Dina just made a good point too. Sometimes we have unit losses. And, you know, I lost second grade, and so now fourth grade teachers just doing something, and that can require room movements. That could happen during preschool or during the 10-day count. I just worry.
No, I get your point on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. I get that.
So do you want to table this and come back,
Yeah.
or do you want to work through that together? Okay, all right. But just so you know, we're open to the boxing and the helping of the movement. Okay. All right, so we'll table that one. That was our number 40. Number 10. We have just one more, and then we'll turn it over to you. And that's going to be 28. I'm sorry. Yeah, 28. So your proposal was to move from 1750 to 20. We are rejecting that. We can't pay, we can't afford it. I'm just gonna be honest. We just moved it up from 1250 to 1750. Yes, 3 years ago. It went up 1250 to 12 to 1750. And so at this point, I think that's a no. I will add, we have discussed the need to cover classes and some things that we could do better in-house. I don't know if you want to talk about it now, Dean, or not talk about it.
Well, one of the things is when we pay for a substitute, they're being paid at either a half day rate or a full day rate. And sometimes there is an emergency sub needed, and we want to make sure that that sub who we're paying for that full day rate is utilizing during that planning period of the teacher that they're covering. So our hope,
Subs don't get a conference period.
I mean, our hope is that all teachers get planning, right? And not being utilized as much for emergency, because that's the intent of planning time, and we want to make sure we're protecting that. So we've really pushed out, Mr. Bigu has pushed out this year that we are to be utilizing our subs to the fullest capacity, because that's what we're paying them for. So if there is a class that's uncovered and I have a sub who is their planning time that particular period, then we want to utilize that sub during that planning period to cover that classroom as well. And that message is, you know, being pushed out to our substitutes as well. And we have a really great group of substitutes.
And that's being pushed out by Mr. Vicky to principals to, I mean, do they get a lunch period? Absolutely, subs do, but they don't need a conference period. That conference period should be either pushed into a room if they're not needed to support a classroom, or they should be covering a classroom that's not covered. We pay them for that full day. And we have since realized that not all schools have been handling it that way. So we will make that consistent throughout the district.
Does that include the on-site subs?
It does.
And we really need to utilize, and that's the other issue. I'm glad you brought that up. On-site subs are to be there to serve as the first vacancy of the day, every day. And we need to be consistent with that.
I know that doesn't help with the cost if you're covering, but we're hoping to minimize it somewhat. Some of our teachers like to sign up for that extra period. It's additional money. So it's good if you want to do it, and if you don't want to do it, hopefully we're able to get that covered better off. But at this point, we're not going to agree to the increase in hourly rate.
Question was, did that 105,000 take into account the idea of the subs being utilized for that, or was that prior to?
That was the cost that was spent last year. So hopefully we're hoping that we're not spending so much on that moving forward, but we won't know
we can, just from one year to the next, that's something that we asked Dave to provide us those reports, and that's us working with the schools to make sure that we're utilizing their subs correctly. I mean, that was just based on this year's amount. I mean, it could vary from year to year, so.
All right, your turn.
we can always come back.
You're
Clicking, maybe.
a disturbance in the force.
She's got a print, so it's gonna be a minute, so.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Which these are the times we live in, so, yeah, I will sign that, yeah.
There's nothing to sign.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
It
you
was
We
rejected-
just
sorry.
rejected
Yeah.
yours.
But it's one we can take off the table so that we're not still going round and round. Oh, actually, covering classes, we do have you to sign because we changed to his and her.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's right, yeah.
That's all right.
And we have that
Can we
through,
just stipulate that all of the
Yeah.
these and them?
we
are
did that,
theirs?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and we'll have that for you, but yes, we did that all
It's
the
just
way
nice
through.
to be able to say we've addressed that one and agree, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to get some of these post-its off my notebook.
Yeah.
My book is getting really thick, so.
Yeah, I was walking home last night with the briefcase, people are going like, holy moly.
Yeah, we did a debrief with the superintendent. He was like, you only booked an hour. We got about halfway done. Yeah.
Yeah, they're,
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
we have plenty more, but we're,
We're just giving you a.
Yeah.
well, that's gonna let you keep going.
we did the fair
Let you
share.
go.
Can we also agree to fix the numbering inconsistencies across the board where we get to them?
Absolutely, and she's fixing that
That
one
one.
on.
There, I mean, there are like three of them across in there and just,
So when we're all kind of said and done, and when we get ready to kind of put the book back together, we can talk and we can renumber, because we have to renumber a lot of things as we cut things out and add things. And formatting is so much fun.
It's so
Right,
easy
Paula?
to make it sense. Yeah, because I tried to move it to a whole page and then that just messed up.
I'm
So the numbers
horrible.
were wrong.
Yeah, we love tracking.
I think the problem is you look at it for so long that all of a sudden, even when it's not right, it starts looking right.
Yeah, so
No, we had one this morning and we're like, oh, good to go. And then when I read it out loud, I was like, doesn't make sense. We were reading it the way we thought it should read, but.
That's they're up here already. Those are totally not.
Okay.
Oh, well, yes, no, right.
We went through a lot of them. We could do terminal.
Well, it's not.
I'd start with 7 is our first one. I mean, the other ones are the bargaining procedure or something. And the duration. Number 7 is.
No, what is, what's 11-1 for instance? Was curious what, no, we had budgets of it. Or we had calculated the July 1 on this side. But if I point it's here, for us, so like this current right here. So that's. Oh. 36, 45, 6. Oh. So. We'll put our 2010.
Probably not, there was a room full of people, and we gotta get on it.
Do you need a minute, please?
Yeah, we do.
Alright.
It's.
Yep, we can go.
Kelly, can you bring the ones that are signed? Yeah.
So over there. Or step out.
Yeah.
Let's step out.
Yeah.
I thought it was good news for you. It is, yeah, well, it is, but. I don't like the butt part on that. It's just, it's good news, it's just butt.
Yeah.
Number includes. Yeah, right, maybe down.
They should. I can ask that question too. I mean, I wouldn't actually answer. We clarified before we even, just a question about long-term subs, they get a plan period.
I just.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
They
They're
do,
taking
they do.
over.
We don't like.
Yes,
yes,
because
they
they're
do.
taking over the
They're truly
responsibilities and
the
classification.
teacher, yeah, and they
Yes.
get paid extra and all that other fun stuff.
Okay, yes.
Thank you. I'm just trying to move on.
I get it. Sitting is tricky.
Well, I'll give you a copy of this. Copy of this. And we're gonna have to fix that.
Oh, those donuts smell good. I got one, yeah, I'm gonna give
But
them.
you all cost out the savings on the subs if you utilize those periods that haven't been utilized.
Hard to gauge.
No, it's really, and it's really hard to gauge because schools haven't been.
Yeah, I mean, that's a,
It could be, here. There you go.
We're also trying to add clarification of what time the sub reports
correct.
and what time they need to stay to. Instead of just rolling in 1 minute before the kids, here I am, and that's
Scary.
great, it's the last minute, but get in the room, get set up, be ready for the day. That's the time you need, not in the middle of the day.
Do they have a copy?
They have 2 copies.
Great.
She's reading your paper.
And we get it, what else, not much else to do, right? So,
So the tracking is messed up on this too. We'll fix all that at the end. It actually looks pretty good though.
Just
Some of the text is bigger than smaller, but
Yeah, and the part that's been taken out is not struck, so we'll fix that, but does anybody need another copy? I have a red line and a clean.
Of which one?
Of
The article
Article
48.
Article 48.
One
So
more
the teacher contractual day for instructional staff is 9 hours. That's
So.
and we took out all that other language. And that has, like I said before, has been the practice, so.
This is the.
Never doing that there too. So it's gonna just stay up for some warranties. She wants to live it.
Which ones did you do? I was going to.
Okay, got that one.
Oh, did we go back to this?
You good with that, Lee?
Not quite so.
The reading behind it, so.
They're good. Dan's pretty.
I got a lot of thumbs up and head nods.
Okay, yeah, I can't see behind me anymore. I left the classroom a couple of years ago. I used to be able to, but
I think the good part to this is that we changed language that really reflects what we've been doing anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, that's most,
Charlie?
yes,
Awesome.
see,
So on that one, you probably sign both the red line and the
Yeah, both of
clean,
them.
and then we'll clean up the red line.
Carly, this one as well. Thank you.
same songs, I can imagine. It would get better, but it's not get worse.
Teachers.
They are from Greenville.
I need to use that.
This one, make sure that's in there. Pretty sure just on white saw them stuff. So just the instruction. Yeah, you put in, you put in. It's okay, you can take it, a statute doesn't. They can take. All.
Under Article 40. D2,
4D.
40.
Oh, Article 40,
Yes.
okay. Payroll deductions.
Okay.
We're trying to understand why we did not supply the instructional list in that.
Say that again?
Under Article 40,
Mhm.
D, number 2, the union will be provided a bi-weekly file identifying instructional employees within the bargaining unit. We're trying to understand why that was struck. We actually kind of need that.
Well, you used to get that, it was part of a role that you would get for union dues, is what you used to get, and then that was when it changed and we didn't have union dues, then.
We
it was-
don't know.
We don't have that.
We don't have
information.
that, yeah. But you get lists of rosters whenever you ask of the complete bargaining unit, and I think even what you all used to get wasn't always so accurate either.
Currently, we get a little USB drive that every other week that comes that we're able to upload who is in the bargaining units or who.
So you are getting that still from, I know, who's the guy down there at TIS? Reggie, you still getting that from Reggie?
Right. We don't know where it originates, but we know Reggie comes with this little disc, with this little USB drive.
But how would he know who's a union member now that we can't track it by dues?
Are you
You
looking
just
for
get the
we-
bargaining unit.
We need the bargaining unit.
You want all
Everyone.
instructional employees, not,
Correct.
okay, so.
Correct.
That probably shouldn't be under payroll deductions, because payroll deductions is how you identified those dues paying members.
Right.
Under union rights, if you want to put something in that says that you want to get a list of all instructional employees, I don't see any objection to that, we do it anyway.
We do it.
But it wouldn't be in this section,
Okay,
so you want to move it to another section?
Article 9.
Yeah,
Okay,
Let's move it to Article 9.
I can later on during a caucus, I can write something and bring Article 9 back. But, cause yeah, we do give you that list all the time.
Can we just shift the language right up to Article 9?
just change, yeah,
Yes,
it just shouldn't be in payroll deductions, because that's not some, yeah. And Article 9 was just a suggestion that that would be a place for it to go.
Oh, union rights.
So then are you agreeing on 40? We can use the exact same language that we struck through. And move that the union will be provided a bi-weekly file identifying instructional employees within the bargaining unit to. Or we said Article 9.
Yes,
Okay. I'm gonna make note of that on here and then we can sign it. I'll put Article 9 if we see something different that we think or you think, we're just not against supplying that.
This is.
Yeah, we can,
That's not
yeah,
different than mine.
No, it's not.
Okay. I like-
yes.
And a little bit further.
Yeah, let's do that. Send it on.
obviously on Article 8, we're gonna have to come back and go through lots of stuff.
What's that?
Article 8,
Believes.
So, yes, so we have a counter to yours. If you want to look at 8.
yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, let's do that.
Okay, then the only thing is, I don't think it's.
Oh, I got it.
It has to, well, we can write it in.
It says.
Where?
I have it right here.
What page?
The plasticine, that little form, that gives out, I have side, there's one.
This.
So the plasticine cost about.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
okay, it does, okay.
All right.
Yeah, okay, that's.
Hold on, I'm coming to you.
All right, so we had 3 proposals on this. We're gonna go with proposal 3,
All right, hold on.
which I think is our most generous.
And,
So if you look at proposal 3, Article 8. On page 9, it's just his, her going to there, not a big change. Under B, leave of absence for other reasons, personal leave going from 5 to 6, we do agree to that. I do want to note statute says you can't go higher than 6, so that won't be something that could be entertained moving forward. But we do believe teachers should be able to take days off for what they need. That's why they have them. Under A, notice of intent to take a personal leave shall be made to the principal 1 day in advance. Why did we add in, 1 day in advance was your proposal? We agree to that as well. Boy, are we being generous here. And then if you go a little bit further, bereavement leave, here's our proposal. We propose an MOU for 1 year to try this out. We have no idea what this will cost, look like, or feel like. We propose 1 day of paid leave will be made available for the death of a spouse or a child, provided notice or documentation of death is submitted to HR within 10 days of the absence. And this provision will set that next year at this time. The reason we want to see how it looks and feels. If it works or we want to tweak it, we're open to that a year from now. We're not against trying this, but we are not, we have no idea what this is going to cost us at this point. So that's our counter proposal. Employees, on number 7, the next page, employees may be allowed to enter properties when using sick or personal leave, provided the employee follows the sign-in requirement and receives principal approval. The last thing we need is something unfortunate happening on a campus during that time and the principal being, and the teacher getting into, it needs to be agreed on of why you're going on the campus when you've taken a day off. And so we just think that's courtesy if you're going to be on the campus and there's a stop. Those are our proposals for Article 8.
So I also just want to point out, just kind of as a reminder, last go around, last time we had open book, and Lee, Janet, you guys will remember this, we did add that bereavement leave can be added to the sick leave bank. So this is an addition to that.
Right.
So the sick leave bank is something that I think we've improved the participation, but it's really a great deal. You put in 1 day.
Forever.
And then if you need access to those days, you have them. So in addition to the 3 days for bereavement, using the sick leave bank, there's this 1 day that we're going to try out for paid bereavement. So yeah, it's in here.
I was asking about the sick leave bank with bereavement. I know we added it in.
Yeah, we
But
added
what was
it
our
in.
language
It's
with?
D, it says the parties agree to maintain a sick leave bank into which teachers may place days and withdraw same in the event of a catastrophic illness. And what we added last time, or for bereavement leave for up to 3 days. For any person covered by section A1, which is pretty broad, the number of people. In fact, it's broader than
The whole definition, including grandparents,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
foster child.
That's, yeah.
Yes,
which
okay.
again is quite a bit broader than state law. And then guidelines are established and modified by the parties.
The nice thing of trying it for a year in controlled, we'd be able to see how is it working? Is the system working? What's the cost of something like this? We don't have any real way to gauge that other than saying if everybody did it, which we know would not be the case. But we do need kind of an idea of what that's going to cost.
And because they're limiting the number, they're limiting the scope of who's covered on this.
Correct.
Our scope was higher before and is still higher with the sick leave bank. The scope is narrowed in the new contractual language as they try out and cost out what this will be. So they've
Correct.
narrowed it to
Yeah.
those two, where
Spouse and child.
the cost out is the 17 million for the 5 days across the board. Possibly if everyone died. So in trying to. Whoa. That's what it was, everyone died. This is a.
I think this is a really good deal and I'm willing to sign this right now if you are, Lee.
We have a pen right here.
It's not.
He might be. Lee,
Not at the can we add a parent in there?
If you
Parents.
sign it, we can.
hey,
If he signs it, does this preclude the other discussions on the other leaves that are out there?
we're not agreeing to any of the other leaves.
I understand that. We had a different proposal on one of these. We don't want to close the article.
You can propose something else. I mean, our counter is this as far as leaves. I mean,
But
you
you're
can,
willing to add a parent.
Yes.
well, it sounds like we are.
We, parent dies,
That includes step
Significant.
parent too? Yes.
not step
I'm
parent,
just kidding.
not, yeah.
Let's throw it out there. What? We need to.
Look, we had a lot of conversation about this. I mean, let's be real, if someone's gonna be abusive on something, they're gonna be abusive. We're not trying to write language to control that. And schools are many families. It's not like you're gonna make up some. Your staff knows if you lose a child or you lose a parent, or, I mean, we're not trying to write language to catch anything at all. What we're trying to do is write fair language that is kind to our employees, but that we can see the cost without it going crazy. I mean, our other language is very permissive. We're not willing to go there on this. But parent, I guess we're willing to add, so it would say spouse, child, or parent. Nothing further.
Okay.
I'm not even for the parent.
And
Spouse, comma,
when
child,
he
comma,
TAs
or
on this, it TAs the whole article, all the different leaves. So now would be the time for us to ask other
It would be.
questions.
It would be.
Okay. Let me ask a couple.
Yeah, sure, because I have. one.
Okay. So my question is related to the domestic violence leave that we proposed. And there's a cost out of almost $3 million. And when I looked at it, I couldn't see a cost out. So I'd like to know how you costed out.
subs. We still have to provide the subs for those folks that are taking, I know you didn't have it as a
A
cost
cost out.
because they're using their own time. But
Correct.
but
There's,
we
But the
still
district has
have to
paid for
cost.
substitutes, so there's a cost to us when you take your days.
well, you'd be paying the teacher's salary otherwise. Right? I mean, I'm just trying to, they can take a day off no matter what, whether it's a domestic violence leave or whether
And
it's a
if it's
personal day.
non-paid, there's no reimbursement back on that. There's still a cost to the district.
I'm gonna have, can we look at this again? Because as I said, I didn't think there was any cost related to that article. And that was not the intent to have any cost related to that article.
And they can still use their personal days or sick days for those days as well.
Correct, and that was what was the intent on there, just to get the wording in there, not to have additional days off. So we may need to go back and look at that, how we have it phrased in there.
Well, let me ask clarification. You're saying you would like an employee to be able to take a day out of their day, their 10 days, and use it for that reason?
Yes, we wanted
But
to
it's
have it.
covered under personal
It is,
anyway.
It is, we wanted to have the language in there about domestic violence, so it showed that people are aware that this does happen. So we wanted it in the contract. It was not an intent to get additional days on there, so we need to look at that. So that's why I said I'm not comfortable yet with T. We have to go back and look at how it's phrased. Is that correctly?
That is absolutely where I was heading to, yeah.
So we may have something in there that's unintended.
Maybe, but
So-
I mean, we don't, I worry if we start going down a lane of why you could take a sick or a personal day.
Correct.
It's, that's why we're saying, take another personal day. You don't owe us an explanation.
Right, absolutely, and we appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And we appreciate the language that you've put in. We were putting it in there so that people were aware that we're cognizant of things such as domestic violence. We're cognizant of things such as mothers' nursing rights. So that's why we had things in here. We were not intending to have costs associated with them. So
Yeah,
it did
no.
surprise us to see that on there. So
We need to come back.
we need to look at this. This is very, very good what we're doing. We need to look at where we have a disconnect on what we're trying to present to you.
No, I'm hearing you now. I still have caution of, these are rights, not ways for us to get things out. I mean, these are employees' rights, so I think it's a fine line of trying to make people aware of domestic violence is real. I get it, but does it belong in a teacher's contract?
So that's what we need to probably discuss and come to a conclusion within our team here
Okay.
on what we want. The other part was,
But I would say, just so you understand our stance, we agree that that is a time you could take those days. We do not agree that it needs to be outlined in the
A
contract.
definition of it.
But certainly y'all can talk about that.
you know, and again, the things such as the declared emergency leave, you have it costed out at 35 million. That again was just trying to get into
Trying to
the
get it
contract.
codified.
Yes, not trying to say that we're going to have emergency leave and not even saying that when there is emergency leave for a hurricane, that we have to be paid. That is something that's generous from the district that they have done as past practice. Not that it is something that is required each and every time if we ever have another hurricane like we had before. We wanted just to have it in there to recognize that this is something that could happen. Again, we're not trying to cost out with multiple types of leave to have the district into that constraint. So we're gonna have to look at how we worded some
Yeah.
things and to present them maybe in a different fashion so that there is not the cost associated with them. So
Yeah,
that's our intent, which is
Okay.
why I'm looking at some of these things on our leaves.
Yeah, this was really the way that it's written. This was truly 10 days.
So we,
Yeah.
and again, we need to maybe do a little bit of work collaboratively to get it more succinct so that it is not costing the district anything. Just so it's explaining what can happen so that all members can see that these are things that could happen. Again, you are under no constraint to pay under an emergency leave. That's something that has been done in the past. We don't want to have a $35 million fee added onto you.
On the domestic violence, I had written down there was gonna be 3 days unpaid, so that's where we came up with.
Yeah, they
That
get
we'd
to
have to get
unpaid.
3 days covered by substitute.
Okay, so we'll have to
But
look
maybe
at it.
maybe that was a misinterpretation as
So-
well,
so-
so we'll have to see.
Yeah, we can look at those just to drop it.
Right.
When you were out, you know, we are, as I said, you want Lee to agree, we have to do a little bit of work on other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, with regards to the compassionate leave program, I would like to, Ms. Starr brought up the sick leave bank. I'm gonna take some time and try to rework this and see if we can add to the sick leave bank or make the sick leave bank a little more user friendly for people instead of having to burn through every day that you own before you can start taking some time. I'd like to think about trying to move that in and see if we can. Because if I have 100 sick leave days, do I have to take every one of them before I can do this? Before I can take some time off because of a compassionate problem? A donation for, you know, my cancer treatment? If I need 2 weeks off, then do I have to burn through all my 100 days before that? And that's the way.
But that's why you.
That's why it's
That's
in
why
But we
you,
roll our sick leave.
that's what it's intended for, is to
Not all.
save that for days that.
Well, I'm gonna come back to that and see what I can write up to see if it would satisfy both sides on that.
So the only thing I'm gonna caution you about is our sick leave is only if we make it so free that you don't have to use your days and you just use the sick days, then we're gonna be asking people to keep donating another sick day to stay into it, so.
I'm gonna come back to that. I'm not going to be able to TA on Article 80 today.
Well, here's what we could TA on, the agreement, the language we have, if you'd like. And we could just say that you want to present counter proposals to those. I mean, as it stands right now, again, I don't believe any of that belongs in the contract. I think it falls under sick and personal days. But we would be open
Which
to
is a
them,
broad scope.
yeah.
Are you talking about TAing on what y'all said about bereavement?
Well, I mean, we can wait on that,
Yes.
we can just wait.
Wait.
Okay,
Let's wait.
all right,
Because of the proposal that was set forth was to put Article 8 to bed.
Right.
Yeah.
From a legal perspective, putting in language that is intended to inform a group of people about their rights isn't really what a contract is about. So my advice from a lawyer's perspective is feel free to put that on your website. Feel free to tell all of your members how you feel, but it doesn't belong in a contract. We agree that there are times when people need to take sick leave and understand that you're not trying to contractually obligate the employer to pay for those, then it doesn't belong in the contract. This is supposed to be what are our contractual obligations and what are the rights of the employees. We agree that domestic violence is a serious issue and, you know, informing members is an important function of your organization, but it just doesn't simply belong in the contract.
So
So
we
we'll
would have the
table A.
we can table the bereavement, the entering the properties and the 6 personal days and then inclusive language. Those
Well,
are
we're just gonna table that until
You bring back
Okay.
whatever you're gonna bring back.
and I'm gonna say again, we had 3 proposals, much less than this one. And agreed in good faith that, you know, we're trying to go with our most generous offer.
But we appreciate it. We
So-
just, there's a
Absolutely.
lot of language we have to
Yep.
to go through on here. So
All
we
right.
appreciate what you've done on there, absolutely.
Okay. We're cranking.
Teachers are back Friday. I can talk about that, because I'm here all the time anyway. You included in your file Article 27 on the school schedules.
Yep.
Could you explain, present your,
What we presented, they have some counters in the front, but they give us. Them to discuss those.
Article 27N, page 37?
So teachers may be required to attend 2 activities each semester outside the contractual day. We agree to add on weekends, and each
Yeah,
activity is,
No,
I mean, weekdays, I'm sorry. We want you Saturday and Sunday.
Everyone.
We agree to on weekdays, and each activity is not to exceed 3 hours in length. We agree to that as well. That's all we agree to on that one. I think it would be impossible to have the schedule sometimes done when you're not sure the different activities during preschool. Certainly, that's a good time to do it, but we're not comfortable adding that part. And we withdrew the ask of the 5 days and the 3 days on the 2 terms.
So you want to leave it at 2 days?
No, we wanna leave it as is in the contract.
Okay.
Because you countered us.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, you said if we gave you a
Double
double
planning
conference,
period.
but come on.
That was a good counter.
That was, yeah. That was a reject is what that was.
It's like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, let's get up.
So you included the inclusive language in there,
We did.
but you did not take the proposal on 27.5K.
Yeah, this one.
Agreed.
Okay, so there's no counter proposal on our language option there
On K,
on K.
no.
No,
Okay, so what that is for the live stream is clarifying conferences. And we had changed it to will be scheduled from may be scheduled outside the student instructional day. Is there any rationale as to why there would not be a change from may versus will?
What about a parent who wants to have their conference during the day because their kid's at school? This is mandating that parent conferences take place after the day. What if it's not convenient for a parent?
Well, the concern is it wouldn't be convenient for the rest of the students in the class. So if a parent conference takes place during a teacher instructional day, then the other students within the classroom would be losing that teacher for a parent conference if it's not done.
I think the language now is fine and it allows for flexibility for the teacher's schedule, the school schedule, and a parent schedule. And putting that in that it will is just, I think, too restrictive.
I believe the concern of the team was that having the may in there has become more of a common than a one-off. And that student conferences and parent conferences are now held and they're disruptive to classroom functioning. So it's more of a service that if a parent does come in, the parent conference is done and the other students have to have a substitute come in rather than the classroom teacher. So I think that was the concern that was being addressed in this, because teachers want to make sure that they can teach their students.
And I agree, but as a principal recently, that was the exception that it happened during the day. Definitely not the rule. 99% of conferences happen before or after school. I think you have the parent that is able to come in when they drop off their child during the day, but isn't able to come before or after school, and that would limit them from being able to be involved in their child's education.
Okay, so that being the case, we've always had in our contract that parent conferences are that way, but IEP meetings and 504 meetings can take any time during the student instructional day. So what would be the rationale between dividing those out?
I'm not.
That would be 27.5.
27.5.
Or L. Now maybe an L.
Jake 8.
Where it says
Yeah.
IEP meetings and 504 meetings may take place at any time during the teacher contractual day, except their uninterrupted planning time unless agreed upon. But, or it might be during the planning time. Why are those caved out when parent conferences are not caved out? Parent conferences may take place anytime during the student instructional day, but 504 meetings and IEP meetings.
But a teacher conference involves a teacher. An IEP meeting and 504 meetings can involve 5, 6, 7 people, district people. They're not the same type of meetings. Most parent meetings involve a parent and a teacher, sometimes the child. Those meetings involve a lot of other people.
Okay, and it depends, I understand that. It depends on the level, usually with elementary school, absolutely. But when you get into secondary and middle school up, you'd have multiple teachers usually with a conference. Because
Sometimes
try
the
to have-
parent just wants one. Sometimes it's a team conference.
They're scrolling in.
So they would pull in multiple teachers at that point in time. And usually I believe that schools do try to have multiple teachers for those parent conferences in secondary so that one teacher isn't singled out.
Sure.
That would then run into the same rationale between your 504 meetings and your IEP meetings, which would have a team. So I just wondered what the difference was in your hesitancy to look at the may versus the will.
It's allowing the flexibility for the one-offs.
I mean, I've already said, I think
All right.
this allows for the parent to stay involved in their child's education and will prevents that from occurring. You know,
Could you give us a second, please?
are you asking us to leave
Yes,
again?
please.
Okay.
Feel free. And unless there's a space for us.
I'm gonna go look.
We're on board.
We're fine.
It's all
there is
right.
no
I'm getting a lot of
place
stuff.
for us.
Strength is long empty.
Use Windows.
Okay.
There's Daniel. Okay. I just didn't. Like, what's my article 27?
She's your lead.
Haven't seen it.
Okay.
Only who gets it. But she really. Who said she's late? Yes, you has to stand down. Okay, well.
Oh, okay.
the end of
No,
this.
she's very
Very much.
I wasn't sure realize it's only. So I'm like.
But
She might
Well,
not,
27.
she does state, that, so she does have Dallas from Adam.
correct.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, she can see.
Is it this one? Oh, here. Back to back to.
Oh, sign off.
We took yours.
Oh, you did. Second, find that.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it would be very
Look
nice.
at you. Let's go check.
Yeah, going back to Article 27. We're trying to understand the rationale on a few of these, why they were not even addressed other than this is what we proposed. So 27.5. Providing fair planning time for teachers with ESE 504 responsibilities. Our contract language finished, IEP meetings and 504 meetings may take place at any time during the teacher contractual day, except their uninterrupted planning time unless agreed upon by the teacher. And we included and compensatory time provided. And we're trying to understand why we would not even be able to give comp time to that.
Why would we give comp time when they're already on paid time during that time? It'd be double dipping.
To make up for the planning time that they'd be missing by attending a 504 or an IEP meeting.
But it says except uninterrupted planning time.
So it's not during that time.
Thank you. 27.5N. We agreed on 27.5R. Posting of final grades time, except as it relates to graduating seniors, at least 2 working days from the close of the grading period shall be allowed before grades are due during the post-school period. The above requirement may be changed to special circumstances.
You didn't give us anything. I remember us talking and you wanted, and I didn't have it here when we were looking at this. You wanted to address something, and correct me if I'm wrong, because there's 1 day of post-planning. You felt that the language said 2 working days But the end of the year, there's only one day. And you actually didn't give us language for that, so we didn't write language or do anything back. But is that what it was about?
Yeah, we need to figure out a way, because the contract's not correct now.
But you didn't give us anything, so that's why we didn't put any, address it.
Yeah, could we put in now how to make that valid? Because we know the calendar committee has changed over the last couple of years and we're not able to meet this.
You're just saying, make it one working day from the close of the grading period
It would not for the midterm, but the last one is the one that's the problem.
during the post-school period, one working day. During the post-school period, the above, maybe change should. Well, that is a special circumstance, it's only one day.
Right. I mean, it's a special circumstance every year.
Well, it is right now, it could change. As long as you and I are on calendar, I don't know, but we could change. It is special.
What are you proposing it say then?
It just needs to meet the one. We can't do it. There's only one day
During the
after
post-school period.
for secondary. They test all the way up to the end and we don't have another day. We have one day that's a trade day option.
Right.
That there's not even another day to do it. It just doesn't meet, the language doesn't meet what happens.
So you would say during the post-school period, one working day from the close of the grading period shall be allowed before grades are due.
It just needs to be, it meets what we can offer.
So it's what I just said, does that sound right? So during the post-school period, one working day from the close of the school year.
Student
From the
school,
last student day.
student school year.
Yes,
yeah.
student day or however it needs to be phrased on that.
From the close of the last student day.
So she'll work on that language, but we didn't address it because we
We
didn't
didn't have
get
it.
counter language.
Understood.
Okay. All right.
And the last thing on 27.5S. When possible, adjustments to the school schedules on Fridays will allow for teacher planning during non-student hours, the option to be completed remotely. This is actually trying to make a step back to where it used to be on Fridays. This is only during non-student hours. So if the students have left for the day, you can then complete what you need to do remotely, but not during your planning periods, because that's a student day. Now, if you have first period or seventh period planning, that's student day. All of that is still in place,
And not on pro ed days.
and definitely not on pro-ed days.
So when I think about when the principals and the association get together to set their meeting calendar, many times they're gonna vary the end of the school day on different days of the week to accommodate. Wednesdays is our after-school meeting, so we're gonna shorten up Friday or shorten up other days. Don't you feel like they're already should be talking about that at the school site and making that determination? Cause I think a lot of them do. You're gonna cut out of here early on Friday, not make it remote, which is really hard to manage, right?
Yeah, impossible.
And then as a result, we're gonna add a few minutes Wednesday because you're gonna leave early. I think that's a common practice already. I can't tell you how many schools, but many do. I don't know, just thinking out loud. It's hard to manage it.
With
And-
many schools doing it, absolutely, that's a good thing, because it's site-based. On here, planning being done remotely, teachers have to plan. You don't have to manage that, they're professionals. The planning has to be done, whether they do it at home remotely or whether they do it at school. And it's only on the Fridays being non-meeting days to begin with. Not all schools change their schedules to adjust for times to have an early exit from campus on Fridays.
I think of the practicality of that. So let's say it's 20 minutes early, 30 minutes early on a Friday.
Mhm.
Tracy gets to go home and work remotely. She goes home and plans on Friday afternoon for 20 minutes.
Tracy is a professional.
I know I'm
And
just
she
using an
would get,
example.
absolutely, she would get her planning done. I mean,
So we
they
didn't
don't-
counter on that
Yeah.
because we don't have a counter for that. I think that's a site-based decision. And I think when schools do that, they agree, like, you're gonna work 5 minutes more Monday through Thursday, so you can take off 30
Right.
minutes on Friday.
That would have to be voted on and agreed. to.
It would be,
Yes.
and schools do that, and then that way, if you left on Friday and you went to a happy hour, you're off the clock and there's no issues and we don't have any problems. To say you're gonna go home and work remotely, the liability on the district's part when we agree to that because you're still on the clock, I think is very different than changing a school schedule.
Sign out.
Every Friday, everyone's gonna sign.
Well, outward, I mean, if they know, yeah.
But if you're still planning remotely, even if you sign out, you're
Mhm.
still working. So.
Wouldn't the liability be negated when it says the option to be completed remotely? It doesn't have a time frame.
No, no, I mean, we agreed a certain amount of hours you're gonna work. If a school wants to add minutes, I heard a school talking about it yesterday. I'm all for that, but to blanketly say everyone can work remotely Friday afternoon, we're not willing to do.
As long as I've already seen come across our desk. At least one principal has already given up the meeting calendar for the year. They said, this is your calendar. And that is something that has to be agreed upon by the staff, not given to them by the principal. And that violates the contract. So we need to make sure that.
So I can address that. One, you sent that to me. I followed up. Two, adjusted the meeting form that you received as well to be very clear.
And then just what?
Include a lot more contract language around it specific to potential errors. And then three, I've sent it out to principals twice already, and the next one is going to be next Tuesday morning at about 6 a.m. when they get it for a third reminder, because you're right, you can't sign off on a contract with your group until your group comes back. So, which is why it's not due until August 19th.
19th.
Ish.
All right, thank you for addressing those.
So you want to agree to this one or not agree to this one?
I need to think about it. I need to concentrate on it.
Okay.
We proposed Article 42G, the adjustment of overpayments and underpayments. Adjustment of overpayments or overpayment. Yeah, it's
Which one?
Article 42G.
We don't have those.
It's about statute.
Right, well, there's two, and we also have a plan that we do.
This is regarding errors in the employee's paycheck and the payment, underpayment or overpayment and how to address it.
So when you wrote that, did you look at all the statute around overpayment and underpayment of school districts?
Pretty sure I did, yeah.
Okay, because we follow the statute and then in areas where we're allowed, we're, we believe, very generous on how we handle that. So we were a little confused at what your angle is as far as what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. Basically, all I'm trying to accomplish is a fair compensation back and forth when the district comes out and tries to claim money back, because mistakes happen.
Right.
I mean, to make sure that it is not burdensome on the employer or the employee in this point. So we've codified things like, from $1 to $100 one payment. But if it's $1,000, $1,800, it's taken out over 12 payments. And broken down along the way.
But our plan, so the way that we work with employees currently, and Dave and Carly can speak to that, because all of those underpay, overpay letters come out of Carly's office. And we work with Dave specifically, and we do work with the union as well, as you are aware.
Yeah.
That we work sometimes 2 years, 3 years, we work with them. So the language actually is a lot more restrictive than we already currently do. We already work independently with employees. So one, when they're underpaid, we pay them back immediately. And we do it with that back of 2 years. So we treat them the same way going forward and going backwards. And then if it's an overpay, we personally reach out to those employees, talk with them, have conversation, try not to give them a small heart attack. And then we work with Carly and we go to Dave and we say, hey, Dave, we really got to work with this employee. What do you say we do this over a year or 2 years? So that way we can get this money back. And by the way, a lot of times we don't get the money back because people leave, because we are very generous with working with people.
Your language is actually more restrictive than what we do.
Is what you do spelled out though?
No, it's individual.
It's a case by
Case.
case. Some people say, just take it.
Yes.
Like if I just be done. And some people are like panicked.
And some people call us and say, oh crap, I got paid twice. And they didn't spend the money, so we just take it.
Most people are aware
Yes.
of their overpayment.
Yeah.
And we've never not, we've never not worked with that person. And we're very flexible, a 2-year look back, like
Yeah.
David said. In the instances where they are aware, they do want us to hurry up and take that back. So
We work with, but we do work because nobody likes getting those letters and those phone calls. We don't like making
I
them
don't.
either. Yeah, and so we do all kinds of things, but a lot of times it's other things like they got paid twice for training. I think that happened last year. We had quite a few of them that got paid twice for training that wasn't. And so we make those calls and we work with them individually. But we do think your language is a lot more restrictive than what we already do.
I just wanted to address.
I get that
Yeah.
you want to spell it
Yeah.
out, but I think the beauty of what we do is we handle it individually by what the employee needs from us. And this would probably hurt some of the members. Especially on that bigger amount, when we're willing to do it over 2 years.
I mean, we've even done it we skip sometimes when we know there's only a partial check and things like that. So I mean, that's how flexible we actually get.
And we give advance notice, so we would give at least 1 pay period before we start deducting. And sometimes if the amount is larger than that, we may give them a 2 pay period before we start deducting.
See, I'm unaware of as to how often it would happen. And that's part of it, because I don't represent everybody in the bargaining unit.
Right.
Or I represent everyone in the bargaining, but I don't have contact with everyone in the
You're right,
bargaining unit.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure how often this happened, but I know it has happened, and that's what I'm trying to.
And that's the other part that makes it easier. If it could be more flexible, there's different situations. There's, if somebody's active, the payroll side, that will equalize pay. Depends on what time of year somebody leaves,
Yeah.
that could cause overpayment. We're required to advance those 4 days of sick leave, could cause some overpayments. So there's a lot of different situations, which gives us that flexibility to work with the different employees.
Yeah.
And it does depend on the situation,
Do you know how often it happens, really?
I know, like for the equalized pay, it really just depends. It's if late paperwork comes in and, somebody quit right after winter break and we didn't know, or they just left, that could cause an overpayment.
I've seen it with the training because other people pay the training and how they submit it twice. We have specialists that 99% of their job is auditing. So their payroll and how they get paid and their experience credit and how we apply that. We have a checks and balance there. So I would say that we have very few of those because we have a pretty strict process. And as we do raises each year, it makes us audit as well. So it doesn't go so crazy. And I can say from working in another district, and Stephanie was overpaid and she had to pay back money. We do a much better job in this district than I've seen in some other districts with that.
$800 overpaid.
But I would say a lot of times it's when it comes from other people that pay people and supplements. So that when they get paid for their training and whatnot, they'll put them in there twice. and they get paid twice. And then it gets,
They're not aware.
and they're not aware of the
So it
change.
was the person who did it last year, but it's somebody else.
right, those are the kind of overpayments
Those are
that we get,
small.
yes, yeah,
Out of 6,000, if we
And-
had
yeah, and so we,
75,
Yeah.
would be a year.
yeah. And we've done things in our practice with confirmation and supplements, like you have to sign off, this is the person that's supposed to get the supplement, because we,
Greatly reduced.
so we've
the
reduced that, so
overpayments.
we've created processes, because nobody wants to get that letter. No, none of us want to make the phone call.
Understood. I withdraw.
What's that? 42.
42G.
My little sheet is helpful, isn't it?
You're always helpful.
Did you hear that, Mike?
I did.
Okay, good.
Write that in the evaluation. Always helpful.
Always.
What knows?
No.
I'd like to go back to Article 9, union rights.
Okay.
This is where we moved that earlier.
Yeah, we're gonna move number 2. The union will be provided a bi-weekly file identifying instructional employees with the bargaining unit.
So which one was that?
We're gonna add from Article 40, number 2. The union will be provided a bi-weekly file identifying instructional employees within the bargaining units.
Right. Under you had asked for the union president shall have the right to use the district's email system for the purpose of announcing the date and time of union meetings, union-related elections and or election results, surveys or pressing union matters that may concern all members of the bargaining unit. To allow me to be able to reach out to everybody in the bargaining unit as opposed to just my members, only for these specific matters though. It would not be, hey, join the union, we're awesome. It's not gonna be a recruiting tool or anything like that. It would be to announce elections, election results, surveys or union matters that may concern everybody, not just my members. We have been, under our current superintendent, it's been very, very generous and very helpful with it. I haven't seen a lot of problems, but he's not been the only superintendent I've been through in my last 30 years. And restricting it to the points that I have listed, I think that's it's actually fairly common in throughout the state. And I think it would be something that would be helpful to both sides in order to be able to communicate.
So my reservation on that is the same as you said. It's been good while Mr. Hendrick's here and it's been good while you're here. My concern is if you're not and how it's used, but also that there is language around this that makes me a little concerned to go there. Lori, do you have that?
Yeah, I mean, as a general matter, using taxpayer-funded resources to promote union business, pressing union matters, as this language suggests, is contrary to not a specific statute, but it's contrary to basically public opinion and legal philosophies.
The surveys definitely are concerning going out on that. We try and manage how many of those and.
Well, there's a
It
policy,
going-
we have a policy that says only
Yeah.
the district can conduct surveys, so you wouldn't be able to use the district's email system to conduct surveys. But again, pressing union matters through a taxpayer-funded system is problematic.
I feel like we work pretty collaboratively on it right now. I'm not comfortable putting it in there for those reasons.
We did settle last time around with the language that's in there, and the union president or building representative shall have the right to use the district's email system. That was a compromise that we put in.
Mhm.
And the
3 years ago.
suggestion now, right, is to expand that beyond what we think is permissible.
All of that last line was added, right, 3 years ago? About the building reps shall have the right
Yes.
to use.
Yeah.
You are. Yeah, yeah, he said that. We do push that out.
What was it?
She was saying we push out.
Your like your
Results.
revocations and results.
In addition, we have, the union shall have the right to participate and solicit members at any hiring fairs. Any new employee processing and new teacher orientation and district-wide training. One of the concerns I have with not being able to communicate quickly is the voting changes that are out there and the scrutiny that's been put on us by different factions within the state to make sure that we do this in a timely manner. I'm already unable to have voting at some school sites because we don't have a league rep there. And it makes it difficult to actually control what's going on. So being able to communicate regarding the elections and the election results and all that stuff would, in a timely manner, would be able to help us tremendously reach everyone in the bargaining unit. And being able to participate in the hiring fairs would be generous on your part. We understand that, but we are under the gun in trying to maintain our status as the bargaining unit. We were fortunate enough to keep going the way we are, and we're working hard to make sure, but it would allow us on your part to engage potential members even more so that we can try to grow our union. We would
So we
like,
go back
sorry.
to F though. The union shall have the right to participate and solicit members at hiring fairs. You're there, new or in, new employee processing, you're here, correct? New teacher orientation, you're there. So all of this happens currently, correct?
Not the DWT, we would like to be able to table at district-wide trainings.
Who's manning those if they're at the training?
I have staff.
We'll consider that. We'll talk about it. Yeah.
And the last item on 9, employees may use personal leave and or comp time with the purpose of soliciting membership at district work sites during duty-free time throughout the school day, provided solicitation does not interfere with official duties of employees and the operation of schools.
Yeah, we're not agreeing to that. List.
Can you give me the rationale on why we would not agree to allow us to talk to people?
Well, I worry about it. You say it won't be disruptive, but it is disruptive. If someone that's not on my school site, they're setting up and organizing, and I need a table, and it just has net classroom. What's that?
Teacher classroom.
Well, that they're taking time.
Yeah.
I just think the nature of it makes it disruptive.
Moving on to Article 10. Please.
You're still on duty.
And and D. Excuse me. Interruptions of class instruction in secondary settings should be scheduled and kept to a minimum, as interruptions impact all the students' learning. Students should not be called from class except in an emergency or is scheduled for certain school activities as approved by the principals. Students shall not be allowed to enter or return to classes. We initially proposed in the last 10 minutes of class. And we're actually just wondering why we can't do that last 10 minutes.
I don't understand that though. I mean, I. Why we would keep a child from going back to class. I mean, 10 minutes, hopefully more still happening that they would be exposed to, or you're going over what the assignment is or the homework and they're out just sitting because it's the last 10 minutes. I just really struggle with that. You know, if they were called out of class and their stuff's still there, they have to wait. They're not in there, they're missing everything, go back in. I'm trying to understand.
We're trying to avoid the disruption of students coming in and then needing to be ignoring what's going on in the classroom to try to accommodate that one student who's come back in.
But it sounds to me like we're trying to write language for maybe a school or somewhere that has an issue with that maybe needs to be handled, where this would actually hurt kids across the district where it's not a problem. I mean, 10 minutes is a long time of class to still learn and hear things. And I don't know how the last 10 minutes is different than the first 10 minutes or a middle 10 minutes. Kids coming and going is disruptive. I get it. But I think it's a nature of schools when you have referrals that have to be worked, or a counselor that needs to be seen, or I've got something emotional that I need to talk to somebody about. I just don't know how we can function in schools where we put those limits on there. I mean, convince me otherwise, but I just.
Well, I'd be willing to consider 5 minutes on that, but the problem is we're doing cleanup, we're doing exit tickets, we're doing all the other things that come along with trying to get the students out the door. And then we have students coming in the door at the same time. And it definitely causes a disruption to the classroom and to what's going on with the students. It is actually becoming a big problem from what I'm understanding, from what I'm hearing throughout the district, especially and the high school level. They're not going to be entering and starting any new activities. They're just going to be coming in. And at that point, it's causing a disruption. Well, I taught different subjects and I had to go back and forth to prepare. You know, I'm doing this period, and then I get ready for the next class and prep my boards and get everything done. And then if I have the students coming in that have not been there, that may be causing a disruption, then I'm not able to prepare my classroom for the next set of students coming in.
As secondary, there's a lot of reasons, as you know, why kids get called out or come back from nurse or whatnot too. And it's a struggle to manage that. So the nurse who had a kid who wasn't feeling well is sending the kid back, not thinking of the time period they have. They're not going to say necessarily stay here and nurse for a few more minutes. It could be an issue. I know that's only one example. The academic counseling piece that we know counselors and other people do a great deal of is something that does pull kids out. And I just toss out maybe kids that be admitted for the first time. Like, kid coming back is different from a kid showing up for the first time. I think their needs are different. So if I was in class the first 20 minutes, I left for something and I came back, I'm reintegrating back in. I want to get caught up to see what I missed. I want to get my assignment before I head out the door. Versus little Mike, who's chronically tardy every day. shows up and gets a tardy pass and comes in with the last 3 minutes of class, that might, I don't know, just trying to think it through a little bit.
Yeah, him too.
Maybe the two considerations, because a kid who was there, who's returning, is probably gonna get a lot more out of those last few minutes than the kid who was never there. Tell me what you're thinking, because I know you're high school.
Yeah, I agree with that. I guess from my perspective, the situation has been exacerbated in the last few years with the increase in testing and that sort of kids finishing at different times. Sometimes we get waves of kids, like 5 or 6 kids coming in 2 or 3 minutes apart. And the last 20 minutes is very chaotic because of that.
Yeah,
So,
well, testing is a solid example, and I wish I could say it's going to decrease anytime soon. But also, you know, testing environment, you want to keep clean when the kid's done, you don't want them sitting there.
And I just picture the kid that tries to come back and they're knocking on the door and the teacher says, no, there's 5 minutes left. And then there's this confrontation or a kid that's just turned away and then something happens to the child that's turned away. I just don't know how logistically that works in a school, because if the kid shows up and it's 5 minutes, the teacher's gonna have to turn him away or let him in, right?
But if it's a set policy in the school, then it's not something the teacher's doing, it's something that the school is doing.
I understand, but the child that shows up with 5 minutes left, to follow this, you're just not gonna let him in, right? Which is gonna become a confrontation, I imagine. And I picture the nurse who says, there's 4 minutes left, go ahead back, get your belongings. This seems very arbitrary to me, of creating more problems than it's fixing. I worry that I can just foresee the issues and the problem where the kid's banging on the door and you're not letting them in and the kid's out in the hall and we know we're responsible. You don't let them in, that's a problem for the teacher, we know. Especially if something happens to the child and they tried to get in and they weren't let in.
they got belongings go missing.
I know, I picture the kid that, I actually had that happen at a school where I was the assistant principal and the girl jumped off the second floor. Broke her leg, she was fine, but it became an issue of who was responsible for that child during those minutes. So I know I go to the extreme situation, but it became an issue for the teacher because the teacher didn't let the child in the room. I don't see this working in a school. And in theory, I think it's a great idea. Don't disrupt my class, keep them if they're done testing, don't send them back. In theory, I think it's a good idea. In practice, I don't see it working. But again, fire back, I'm all ears, but I've worked in high school and yeah, it's easier in elementary, a lot easier. I think it's even easier in middle school. There's less kids out. A high school is like a little city happening all the time and stuff's going on. And those will be the more challenging kids to turn away from the door. So as much as I think you're trying to fix something at the high school, I think we're gonna have a bigger issue at the high school.
If, again, I will go back to this, if it is the policy that is written, it is not something the teacher would have to deal with, it is something the school would have to deal with. So the nurse would say, hey, listen, just wait right there for a few more minutes, we're almost done. The counselor would say, hey, just sit out in the lobby for a few more minutes, we're almost done. And that would allow the teacher to finish up what they're doing and allow them to prep for the next period and keep the classroom from being interrupted by the student who comes in with the intention of disrupting the classroom.
I would be open to language that said, if at all possible, or an effort, but students shall not be allowed, I can't agree to. An encouragement along those lines, I would be open to that language.
The other thing about, it's hard to not paint a brush and picture the situation, right? But
Always.
you have kids that are just super responsible, and they're coming back from the dentist and they don't miss school ever, and they're mad mommy put the dentist in their second period, right? And we have these kids. These are the kids that we want 50 of them in your room because they're that great a kid. And that kid literally wants to check in with the teacher, like, please, and that's a oh, come on, and versus Mike who's late, who's a disruption when he arrives too. It's tricky. It'll be hard to manage. I get ideally, just hang out in the clinic or hang out in the front office, you arrive late, wait for the bell and go do the business, but that can become distraction as well. So definitely more problematic in secondary. Testing is a valid concern.
If I can have a chance to rework this, I'll see what I can come up with. That would make sense for all parties, all parties.
Think through first time admit versus readmit might make it a little easier, and I say might.
And I think encouraged instead of shall not. Okay.
Would you like to try to rewrite that in a way that would make sense to you?
I'll let you take a draft at it.
We don't want it in there, so.
Look back, it's gonna get hard, but I'll gladly take a look at it if you wanna kick something to me, and I'll say, well, this is what I'm thinking. I know, Dan, what you'd be able to offer a lot too, just because your day-to-day experiences too, but, so, yes, I could take a look at what you draft.
Under Article 11, item D.
I think you said you were gonna add that somewhere else.
In 25.
Yeah.
This is new language that was proposed.
I thought you said you were moving it somewhere else, but okay.
Highly effective teachers should not be required to adhere to district mandated pacing guides if they demonstrate student mastery through alternative teacher designed assessments. Teachers may modify the sequence and depth of instruction to meet the needs of their students rather than following the rigid district line. And ideally, teachers would already have that ability, but more and more, I believe administrators are feeling the pressure to adhere to the district pacing guides. And then they're pushing that onto the teachers. And sometimes you can't adhere to the guidelines. And if you walk into the classroom and say, wait a minute, you should be on page 47 of chapter 7, and they're not there because they've adjusted the timeline, then, and again, we're talking about highly effective teachers that have already demonstrated the fact that they are good at what they do, at the craft that they have, then they should not have to adhere to that guideline and feel pressured to adhere to that guideline from outside forces.
So you actually wrote that in Article 25?
Well, you wrote, and I have from our notes, you wrote in 25, teachers may modify the sequence and depth of the instruction to meet the needs of their students rather than following the course modules / pacing guide. Right.
It's so good.
Well, I had in our notes that we were gonna address it in Article 25 and you guys did write it in 25.
And on that, we were a no, for a couple reasons. One, some would say that the teacher is highly qualified because they're following a pacing guide and following the curriculum and getting everything accomplished. The other thing is we PLC as groups and it will splinter people off from not being part of the team. And if you don't follow the pacing guide and complete all of the work, we hurt children and we won't know that until they assess at the end. So for those reasons, we're not in agreement to that.
But it is a pacing guide, not a pacing
Agreed.
requirement.
Agreed.
And unfortunately, it's being used as a pacing requirement.
And
instead
we're
of a guide.
addressing that in teaching and learning because, I mean, if you're within a range of time and going deeper in a standard as an administrator, that should be a non-issue. And we've started talking about that with teaching and learning, a little less rigidity in expectations should be accomplished, but just to open this up, we're not open to that. But I agree, the person that comes in and says you're one day behind, that's silly. you have to adjust to your kids. Maybe you thought they were gonna understand something, they didn't. But
There was a disruption the day before, the
Ag-
fire alarm rang,
agreed,
and now
agreed.
you're not on pace. But somebody coming in would go, hey, wait a minute, you're not on pace. And
Agreed.
that's becoming a bigger issue. The rigidity of what's going on in the classroom is becoming more and more of an issue. We are professionals, and I'm talking about highly effective teachers here. We are professionals, and teaching is as much an art sometimes as it is building an erector set. So following this step by step doesn't always work. And we were hoping to include that in the contract to allow that flexibility to be there in writing, so that there's not the pressure coming in from, again, an outside force, whether it's an administrator or somebody outside the district saying, or a coach coming in and saying, you're not on pace.
Yeah, I think the highly effective teacher that does those things interacts with their administrator of what they're doing. The problem if we just stop following pacing guides, as we know, some teachers, even some of my highly effective teachers, would slow down, go off in little tangents, and then some of the material's not covered at the end of the year, and all kids need to be exposed to all the core curriculum. I know what you're trying to accomplish and I know why, but I don't think that if we have issues at a particular school where there is that issue, I think we need to address those. But to blanketly say people don't have to follow pacing guides, that's just, we're not going to agree to that.
Again, we're not talking about all teachers here.
I know.
But
that's your teacher that's leading PLCs. That's your teacher that's supporting other teachers. That's your teacher that's sharing ideas. You start saying you are highly effective and you don't have to do that. That can impact grade levels and content areas and splinter people from no longer collaborating together. No.
One of our issues also is it seems to be the point where it could impact your evaluation, the fact that you're not on pace. And teachers will feel they need to be on pace instead of actually addressing the needs of the student who has fallen behind or the classroom has fallen behind. So part of the problem we're concerned with is the evaluation process or the punitive nature of coming in and saying you're not on pace.
You haven't brought a single case to me where in an evaluation that was a deterrent, a negative on an evaluation to say that that's a widespread concern. If you're 6 weeks behind, where I've seen some teachers behind, would I bring that up in an evaluation conference? Absolutely, I would, because now I know 30 kids or 22 kids or 18, how many are in there, didn't get 6 weeks of curriculum, but they're going to be assessed on that. I would address that, and I would address it along the lines, what's your plan to get caught back up? But some rooms, if you're waiting too long that you're not keeping up with that, there's an issue that's bigger than just a pacing guide. So I'm always against writing language that causes more issues to fix if you feel it's an administrative problem. It's like saying to a whole faculty, you need to be at your doors, when it's really just Dina that's not. I need to address it with Dina. Get to your door. And so I feel like if we're writing language to fix a problem, we need to address the problem, not write language that we think is going to fix the problem.
I don't see where any of this came up with the 6 weeks behind. That's not what we're trying to address here.
I understand.
We're trying to address the fact that you're not on chapter 7, page 37.
Which again should be addressed, because no one should be saying on today's date, you should be on this exact lesson. And if that's an issue, we need to address that. There is a range of where you're going to be on a pacing guide, but at what point are you too far off a pacing guide? Is it 2 weeks? Is it 4 weeks? to me, that's a conversation with the teacher of why are we 4 weeks behind and what's our plan to get caught up? So again, we're trying to write language when you feel like someone is saying, why aren't you on this exact lesson? And I just need to address that person instead of the whole district opening a can of worms.
Just-
I need to, take a few minutes to talk to my group, and we're already at 11:53.
Yeah.
So, like, we need to actually think about the next time up.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Well, and are you gonna be prepared, Lee, on the next one to talk about money at all?
I hope so,
Okay.
but we have to get the supplements, committee, Dana, we chatted about that the other day. We need, to make sure the supplement committee and the EWBS is finished before we can.
So I think for that, we need to talk about that article and then bring. Because there's more in that article, and then based on what's discussed in that particular article, we can take what we have here and we can sidebar, we can bring who we need to from, because, you know, there's a lot of us that are on supplement committee, there's a lot of you guys, and so we can just kind of sidebar that position, that.
So let me make a recommendation on that. Maybe today we set the next meeting for this group. We have employee wellness benefits tomorrow afternoon. At the back end of that, we can try to set a time together for the small supplements
Yeah.
to revisit that.
We can give you all a break and we can meet, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's best.
So we'll set the supplement tomorrow afternoon at the end of employee, because that's the same people, right? But now we'll try to set this one for next time. Does that work?
Yes, sir.
Then let's have beautiful calendars. There's this thing called school starting, so.
Really, students?
I'm sure all teachers will be okay with the TDE.
TDEs. No kidding.
It would be so awesome if we
Just come and go. It's all good, right? We could agree that we probably need to stay out of preschool. People need, that's a priority. We do. And without kicking it too far down the road, is the back end of the first week of school, is it somewhere in the second week? We don't want to be too far out, but I also respect the opening of the school year is extremely important.
In the afternoon, then too.
It's
Teachers are-
right, just that first week, it's a lot of energy.
It is, yeah.
So might I suggest that if we get into the week of August 18th and we push it like a 4 o'clock or a 3:30, I'm trying to meet the
3:30.
needs of the different groups. We got high school, we got, you're probably like. a 4.
Elementary.
Right.
Theme is what time we get out.
Generally,
Huh?
the team.
3:15.
So 4.
Four-ish.
Say, the 19th at 4? Or is that a school board meeting?
Let's go,
It's a school board meeting, but it's at 10:30.
Okay.
Maybe a workshop.
Yeah, but what should be done by 4?
Well, yeah, the workshop starts at 1, so 4 o'clock should be fine.
All right, 4 o'clock on the 19th.
Yep. Would you like to come here or else do you?
I'll get back to you. Hopefully my building will be cleaned up. We're having that amazing free market this weekend.
Beautiful. So
Yeah.
let's do this. For my team, I'm gonna go ahead and say 4 to 5:30 or 4 to 6. Let's go 6. We okay? And I'll put it here. And then if you would prefer it end up being, you just let me know and I'll change the location on my side.
If we can do here, it might be better because we're gonna go right from a workshop trying to get here. It might be harder. We'll lose a lot of time in the transfer.
That work? So we'll stay.
Yes, sir.
4 to
Yes, sir.
6,
That works.
and we'll see you tomorrow. After.
See you tomorrow.
I'll see you over.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Right there. With that.
Sure.
Yes.
Totally.